Hi, my name is Simone Ashley, and I am doing my third installment for the critical thinking class. And today we're going to be talking about recapturing the intellectual life in the church, chapter 10 in J.P. Moreland's book, Love Your God with All Your Mind. And the question proposed today is, do you agree with Moreland's thesis regarding the current state of the church? And do you feel that his proposed solutions are plausible and biblical? Well, let's begin with how he started this whole chapter. Let me just say that this chapter, to me, was the most exciting chapter to read because it really showed his opinion. Some of his opinions I really don't agree with, but then there are some that I do agree with, and I know his overall consensus on why he said what he said. So I want to talk about the refurbishing of the local church. He talked about, first of all, no senior pastors. Now, I really don't agree with it. He said that he felt like that it was giving too much praise to one person. And I understand where he was coming from, but in my day when I used to go to church, I grew up with a senior pastor, and we didn't praise the man. I think what senior pastors was the person who oversaw everything, and if God gave it to him, especially the name or the location, he was then called the founder of the church. And so I didn't see a problem with having a senior pastor, but he saw it as a problem that people will worship man. He also talked about the pastoral staff and elders, what they should be doing. I agree with some of the things that he was saying, especially with the elders taking some of the load off of the pastor. I don't agree with his cause. He said that pastors who preach every Sunday are not spiritual, like they're like what they receive from God is not God. I don't really agree with that either. I like the idea of the rotation of pastors and elders preaching, but to say that a pastor who preaches every Sunday that is not spiritual or is not hearing from God is a real judgmental statement. I didn't really agree with that also. And I believe that pastors can be called. And I think one of the reasons why pastors are preaching every Sunday is because maybe they don't have persons in place that are trained to take up Sunday mornings. He talked about suggestions in the church, which I believe are some were over the top and some were doable. I remember saying in my group discussion, I was saying the sermons, I believe that is not doable. To take a sermon and type it out in its detail and to photocopy sermons and give to all of the parishioners in the church, I feel like it's a waste of paper. I feel like it's a waste of time, and it enables us to taking notes, to not taking notes, because we should be taking notes. We should be paying attention. And when you give us a paper detailed, some people will keep it, and then there are some that will not keep it. You got people who just don't keep paper. You know, they're very tech savvy. They like to put things in their Google Notes and their iPhones and their stuff like that. So paper probably would not be the best thing, especially in a mega church who may not appreciate the detailed papered work. So I didn't agree with that. It sounds good, but I didn't really agree with that. The church's library, he even suggested about church libraries being effective and implemented in the church. I agree with that because, you have people who want to know more about the Word of God. But I really believe, once again, that J.P. Moreland was coming from a place of the scholar, the professor, and some pastors are not that way. They don't think that it's a school. They think that it's a church. They come to get their healing, deliverance, and that's what it is. So they're not really thinking on the education part. I think Moreland was talking from a place of education, that we should be equipped and there should be a library there for us to go in, take books, and really get honed in on the education part. And I am all for that because I love teaching and I love the taught word. So that was a great idea. And also he talked about Sunday school and study centers. Now, I want to talk about that because Sunday school was when I was growing up. I don't even know if they do still have Sunday school anymore. I know the church that I go to right now don't really have Sunday school. We have children's church. And so what we try to do is try to better the children on their level of learning, and trying to implement other things like STEM classes, to help the children, and all these things to better themselves in science and those type of things, or to better themselves in different areas in ministry. What Moreland was talking about was a deep type thing, like I don't know if he was dealing with adults, because he was talking about paying for classes, which I believe is not necessary on a Sunday morning. You want to do a class that you want to pay for, that should be something that should be outside of Sunday school. Sunday school people come in to learn, and you shouldn't charge. I feel like you're doing a cover charge for church, which was unnecessary. Children and adults alike should not come to pay for a class that's supposed to be a part of the church's curriculum or church's program. So I felt that was unnecessary. And if you want to do a paid class, then do something outside, maybe on a Saturday, that you go and you said, we're having a class and the cover charge is such and such. It's going to be powerful, and do it like that. But don't charge people on a Sunday morning. So overall, I see his cause, and I see his passion for changing the local church. He said even at the end that he was very impressed to have a doctor that who knew, who wrote something in a newspaper, and he was very shocked to see that it was somebody that he had already met, and that his whole purpose and message is that the persons that are in the church, that there will be a lot of persons like him that will impact the marketplace. And I believe that too. I believe that we as leaders in the church should be able to impact the marketplace with the Word of God, or just a way of thinking on the things of God. I hope that this really helped you. Overall, chapter 10 was very, very informative, and my mouth dropped on some of these things with what he was saying, because it was very judgmental from a place of judgment, and a place of, I think he should have never really said some of the things that he said. But I can't really combat a man who has this type of thinking. It is critical thinking, and it's causing us to think outside the box. So I hope this worked, and I hope this blessed you. It's longer than it should be. You guys have a great one. Bye.